Okay, we're discussing mean, median, mode, and range today. You guys have probably at least seen mean, median, and mode before. We're going to write down some definitions for these things. The mean is the average. And I always say mean teachers give averages to help you remember what that is. Mean is the average. We'll talk about how to find that here in a few minutes. The median is the number in the middle of a list of numbers. Middle. Okay, the median is the number in the middle of a list of numbers. We'll talk about how to find that in a few minutes. Mode is the most common number. The mode is the most common number in a list of numbers. Okay. The range is the distance between the largest and the smallest. So it's the largest minus the smallest number in a list of numbers. Does that make sense? Range is the largest minus smallest. A data set is a list of numbers or values. All right. A list of numbers or values. And all of these together, these four things, are measures of central tendency. And that's just a math way of saying, that's just a math word, but you need to recognize it because you're going to have questions that say, which measure of central tendency does this? And you're going to have to identify which one of those four things it's talking about. I'm going to give you a few minutes to... Alright, so you should have all this written down. And I didn't write it down, but one of the values or numbers is called a data point. So if you want to write that down, you might. I will refer to it as a data point, even though you won't see that nearly as often. Okay. Okay. This is, I don't know what this X is for. I'm not sure what it's for. But here's a data set up here at the top of the screen. And you always, when you have a data set, especially a big one, you always order it from least to greatest. That is one of the best pieces of advice you're going to get all unit. Always order it from least to greatest. If you don't do that, you're going to make mistakes. Okay? So when we order it from least to greatest, the mean or the average is when you add up all the numbers in the data set and then you divide by the number of numbers in the data set. So they added them all up and they got 1,342. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. So we're going to divide this by 20. 2 goes into 13 6 times, so we're going to do 120. 4, bring down our 2. 2 goes into 14 7 times, so we're going to do 140. Subtract, add a decimal and a 0, bring it down. So our average or our mean is 67.1. Does this make sense, and are there any questions about this?
No, this makes sense.
Okay, so let's move on. Okay, this is the mean or the average. We add them all up and we divide by the number of data points or values that we use. Okay, the median is literally the one that's in the middle, okay? And the way that you do this is you order it from least to greatest, and they've already done that for you. And then you take your pencil and you mark off the least and the greatest, and the next least and the next greatest, from all the way down. Does that make sense? And then you find that there's either one number or two numbers in the middle. In this case, there are two numbers in the middle, right? If we mark both of those off, there wouldn't be anything left. So those are the two numbers in the middle. When there's one number in the middle, that's your answer. That's your median. When there are two, though, we have to add them together and divide by 2. Does that make sense? That gives us our median, because there were two numbers in the middle and not just one. So basically anytime your list has an even number of data points, you'll have to divide by 2. But when you have an odd number of data points, you'll just have 1 left over. Questions about this one? Okay. The mode is the one that is used the most often. Now in 6th grade, you will typically only have one mode. On this one, though, we have 2 modes. So we look up here at our list, and this is another reason we put them in order from least to greatest, because I have 1, 2, 3, 4 58s, and 1, 2, 3, 4 62s, and those are the only 2 that are 4. So this one is technically called bimodal. You don't need to know that. Because normally in 6th grade you will only have one mode, but mode is the one used the most often. So this one is going to be 58 and 62. Okay, like I said, usually there will only be one, but just double check just in case. If they're all used the same number of times, then there is no mode. Okay, we don't say 0, because that would say that 0 was used the most often. Questions about this? Okay, moving on. Range is pretty simple. You take the biggest number, take the smallest number, and you subtract. And we get 37. That's our range. It's the distance between the biggest and smallest number. And all you do is subtract those 2. Any questions about that? Largest minus smallest. Okay. YouTube's not working, so we'll skip that. Now, on your own, I want you to find the mean, median, mode, and range of this data set. I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to do that. Maybe not quite 5 minutes. It shouldn't take. It's only 5 data points.
Good morning, Jennifer. 7.
Okay, so to find the mean, we're going to add all these numbers up. So 14 and 14 is 28. Plus 13 is 41. So I've used 14, 14, and 13. 16 is 57. Plus 8 is 65. And I'm going to divide by 5, which gives me 13 as my mean. I'm going to put these in order from least to greatest. 8, 13, 14, 14, 16. And to find my median, I'm going to mark off the top 2 and then the next. My median is the one in the middle, and this time, since there's an odd number, there's only 1, so it's 14. My mode is the one that's used the most often, which is 14. And my range is my biggest minus my littlest, which is 8. So hopefully you got that. Are there any questions? Okay, moving on.